I don't care what nobody says. I don't care what nobody says. You have to watch upper leadership if you have a strong personality. They will try to set you up. They will try to get you fired. Let me give you 3 stories of how my strong personality, my intimidating personality, almost cost me my job at 3 different workplaces. What's up, YouTube? If you click this video, you're probably questioning if you have a strong personality. You're probably questioning if you're an intimidating person. First and foremost, let me say there's absolutely nothing wrong with having a strong personality, being intimidating, or having willpower. That's what it boils down to. You're having willpower, you're having drive, you're having ambition, you're having passion for certain things in workplaces, and some people don't have what you have, and it's just maybe human nature for someone to not like you for the way that you are and them wishing they were more like you. So don't be apologetic. See it as that you're not intimidating. That person is intimidated. So let's get that out the way first. All right, guys, let's get this party started with these 3 stories that I personally felt like my strong personality, my intimidating personality caused a lot of conflict at work. We're gonna start with the time I worked at Amazon. This is back home. This is in Kentucky. I was a sort PG. What is a sort PG? A sort PG's jobs is you're in the packing department. Sort PG runs the sort side. Basically, you look for trucks, you cover restroom breaks. If the sorter went down, you would have to go get it. Meaning it could be a variety of reasons why the sorter went down, and you would have to problem solve, think on your feet, think on your toes of what was wrong with it, right? So we had a crew person get promoted to management. He was never on my shift. If you watch previous episodes of The Fabulous Life of Natalie, you know I work a lot of overtime. So I first encountered this crew person who transformed into a management on another shift due to me working overtime. So I was somewhat familiar with him. I never talked to him because I felt like sometimes you click with people, sometimes you don't. For my personal opinion, I felt like I didn't click with him. I felt like he was an introvert. I feel like I'm an extrovert, and he was just really quiet and timid and shy. So when he became promoted, I was kind of surprised because you're supposed to announce yourself when you pass through by saying, hey, I'm coming through, hey, I'm behind you. His way of doing it was, thank you. So I couldn't click with him, right? But I had no idea he was working to get promoted. There was really nothing I can do about it. I had to adapt to the situation, which I did. So when he became the manager, he was kind of over me on the sort side. Day 1, the first thing he said to me was, I find you intimidating. And so my answer was, why do you find me intimidating? He was like, I don't know. I don't have the answer for it. So I don't know. I didn't know how to take it. I didn't know. No one's had ever told me before that I was intimidating. But the moment I saw his performance as a manager sized up to mine, I knew automatically why I was intimidating. I was intimidating because every time the sorter went down, I ran for it. Every time the sorter went down, it could have been multiple issues. I was quick to think of the resolution and fix it. Every time someone needed to go to the restroom, I was quick to, hey, I'm here. I'm covering this spot because we had walkie-talkies. And I was everything that he wasn't. So, like I said, that goes back to me not being intimidating, but him just being intimidated. I was loud. I was bold. There were times that, they're called stand-ups, that we were, the managers were too busy to host them to just give the announcements of what's going on in the workplace. I would volunteer to do it, which means you would talk in front of a crowd. I would always say hi to everybody when I went by because I'm just a very sociable person, and I think that I was everything he wasn't. So what problem came from me being so intimidating was that, so some days I would leave to go to a gas station. You guys know that I drink a lot of protein. I eat a lot of protein from my workouts. So one day I went to the gas station. I seen him with a crew person, and I never really even talked to her because to me she was the same way. Not sociable, just antisocial, kind of just strange, a little bit different from me. But I guess when they got back to work, they had told their select individuals that Natalie's seen us at the gas station. Natalie thinks we're together, whatever, which I really didn't care because I don't care about if y'all are together. Y'all both are weird. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what I would get out of telling people that. But a lot of my friends were coming up to me because a lot of people did speak to them and said, said you saw him at the gas station. Said you saw him at the gas station. So it got to the point where I guess he thought I was going to tell someone. But like I said, I had no choice not to tell someone. But it got to the point where I would simply do my job. I've never had complaints. And then he was finding wrong reasons of pulling me from this job. He would say that after a while, I stopped looking for truck orders or I wasn't doing the right thing. And then it got to the point where every time I brought it up to my manager, it became an issue. There was also a side job I did. It was called Water Spider. I know it has a unique name. So it got to the point, Water Spider is really physical. Okay, for one, you would lift boxes all night and there's a rotation for it. I started to realize that no matter what, I was doing this position. And I remember I asked nicely at first, like, hey, may I ask why, it's 4 days, I've done this position, what's going on? And he would say, well, so-and-so's not here, so-and-so's not here, that bumps you to the top of rotation. And I'm like, okay, that's understandable. But I started to see that it became more of a habit and more of a habit and more of a habit. So obviously it got to the point where, I got tired and I went off on him and was like, why am I still doing this? Like, I'm not understanding why I'm doing this position. And it got to the point where I got frustrated, so I left. I told him like this, like, Amazon gives you a certain amount of time for a variety of reasons. You get vacation, you get personal time, and you get unpaid time. And I always stay on a lot of time. I'm always typically at work. So I told him, like, why am I doing this? He was like, I already explained it to you. And I was like, okay, you get smart with your antisocial self. You get smart. I stay on 80 hours. I'll leave. So when I said that, you see that he got scared and he tensed up. So I think me being so forward with that's what caused the whole I'm out to get Natalie thing. He started lying, saying that I was picking fights with people. He started lying and saying that I wasn't doing the job like I was supposed to. One day, out of nowhere, they pulled me from the job, told me to go pack, but didn't give me a reason of why. This is when I was doing the truck order job, when I was looking for the trucks. And he didn't give me a reason why he pulled me. He just said, my open manager came to me and was like, hey, we're going to pull you. Didn't give me a reason. Replaced me with somebody. And the following day, I had to do it again. And I'm like, well, why? I'm not understanding. You pulled me yesterday because I did something wrong, but yet you're going to give me an opportunity to do it again today. Like, the way that I would think leadership-wise would be, hey, Natalie, we're going to sit down and have a conversation with you, explain why we pulled you from the job yesterday so you don't repeat the same process in the future to stop you from doing this, right? And that makes sense to me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm overthinking it. But they didn't do that. They just said, we pulled you because, you wasn't following directions, even though you've been in this position for 8 months. We never had an issue with you. But yesterday in particular, you chose to be defiant and not do it. I don't even know what that means, right? After I addressed it. So I felt like he was very intimidated by me. My work ethic, he was very intimidated that I was very outspoken. He was very intimidated that I was a very sociable person and he wasn't. And you would think of all things, him being a manager, that he would have all these qualities. And even got to the point where he knew I was trying to get promoted. And once, because we switch leadership sometimes. We had just switched leadership. I told him, this is when I would somewhat tolerate talking to him. I had told him, like, and he was like, I think you would be a good leader. You need to sit down with, my boss and tell him that. So I was like, hey, I told him, like, hey, I went to speak to the boss about it. And he told me to work on these qualities. But I think it was just a general idea of qualities that he wanted people to work on. He wasn't really familiar with my work ethic. So when I went back and told the PA or the manager that I was having issues with, like, hey, he told me I should work on, socializing with everybody. The first thing the PA said to me was, he clearly doesn't know who you are. I know you socialize with everybody. So that tells me the dude was completely aware of everything I was doing. He even told me one day, like, it gives me anxiety to think of something that's wrong with you. So I think all of these qualities led him to thinking I was, had a strong personality, that I was very intimidating. So it got to the point where they kept pulling me from doing jobs, and they kept sending me to different departments. And I wanted to know why, because the rule of thumb in Amazon is if you have a really good record, a really good rate, or if you pack really high, or if you sort really high, obviously it's kind of like, in the NBA. How often did you see Michael Jordan on the bench? Rarely, unless he was injured, right? Because they know he's putting up the numbers. So they were pulling me for no apparent reason whatsoever. I was like always top 5 in the department, and they could never give me a reason of why they were pulling me. They could never give me a valid reason of why they were pulling me. And I think obviously it narrowed down to me being intimidating. So it got to the point where before I transferred, which he even tried to follow up and see if I was transferring around the location that I previously was, which I told you guys I moved from Kentucky to Florida, so he couldn't find it. A friend of mine told me, said that he said, we know she's not transferring in-state. Where is she going? I don't even know why that's a big deal, but it was. But the moral of the story was, I even followed up with HR, I think that they are antagonizing me because of his own personal beliefs. I feel like if you automatically approach someone and say, you intimidate me, but I can't think of the reason why you intimidate me, that should be a straw there. But HR's super favoritism for their management. So it wound up being, they were like, he's going to show up soon. And he was supposed to join the meeting. He never even showed up, because I knew that told me, or that clarified to me, that the things that he was saying were lies. Why would you not want to show up to prove your case, right? So they just basically said, there's nothing we can really do about it. Just try not to spread rumors of the gas station issue with him being seen with a crew person. But realistically, Amazon has a no fraternization rule. So realistically, he shouldn't have even been riding with her. And I just can't explain this guy. I don't know. It's over and it's done. But just to shine some light on the situation, guys, if you have a quality that an upper leadership, upper management is having, is lacking, you're automatically a target. Dude tried to cost me my job. Kept saying I was very defiant. I never had an issue with anybody else there at Amazon as far as management. But if he came in thinking I was intimidating, that was your point there. Another way I was told I wasn't told I was intimidated on this part. I kind of just figured it out. This is way before Amazon. I worked at McDonald's. I've discussed it in previous episodes, how I've worked at McDonald's. And at this time in my life, they transferred me to 3 different locations because I was really good at what I did. I was really passionate at what I did. And when they transferred me to this location, I was somewhat familiar with the store manager. I was considered the assistant store manager. I can't even explain it, bro. If you gotta think, if you go into an environment and you're like, this is how I would do it, because I had done McDonald's for 12 years. I would go into the store, I would run the shift, and I would say, okay, the food's not up, pull them up. Because McDonald's rule of thumb is if the food isn't ready within 30 seconds, pull the order up. Now, if I go into an environment and I'm like, come on, think about it. I want you to visualize this. If I go into an environment, I clock in, I see a car sitting at the window. I'm like, okay, what are they waiting on? Pull them up. And I'm on front counter and I see a long line and I'm knocking out the line. If I notice that there's not any fries and I'm dropping fries, or I'm communicating dropping fries, for waiting on chicken nuggets, because I'm like, how long we got on nuggets? And then you have a store manager just kind of just like looking around and not doing these things. I'm naturally intimidating, but it got to the point where I had to leave sometimes, but I would communicate it. I would say, hey, I have to go up the street. At that time, I would pick up a truck driver that was in the area and drop them off. And they needed to be picked up. That's common sense because they don't have a vehicle and they're driving a truck. I would communicate it with her. It got to the point that rumors were spreading around and associates were coming up to me like, she thinks that you're here to take her job. And that's just because she's not comfortable with who she is as a person. Like, if you knew you were a banging store manager, there's nothing I could do personally to offend you to make you feel that way. So it got to the point where it escalated. And I wound up, like I said, I'm really good at communicating. I wound up messaging or calling, her boss, which I was familiar with him. We all sat down. Do you know this lady was sitting there telling them that I left all the time and was just playing victim of how I was penalizing the store by leaving and blah, blah, blah. I was leaving during lunch rush, and she painted this picture. I was so bad. I was just so bad, and I just couldn't believe it. I wound up transferring back to a different location just because, I don't like to cause chaos. I'm a nice, calm, peaceful person. But if someone's going to always make it seem like you're bad, like what would motivate me to stay there, right? Even early on when I first got there, she was like, out of nowhere, hey, Natalie, you seem like I want to bring you something to drink. What kind of alcohol do you drink? And I just felt like, what are you talking about? Like, I just felt like my intuition. I made a video about my intuition. Check it out. Intuition told me this is strange. And I just told her, like, no, I don't drink. And even if I drunk, that to me was just a sign of something was going on, dude. Lastly, if you guys haven't figured it out yet, if you guys have not figured this out yet, I am not a fake person. I'm always going to voice my opinion. I'm very opinionated. I'm very outspoken. I don't know if that intimidates people, but I just feel like, in general, don't ask me how I truly feel about something if you're not ready to take whatever answer I got. Like, if someone came up to me like, hey, do you like this shirt? And I didn't like it, I'm gonna be honest and say I don't like it. I mean, I feel like, don't ask me a question you don't want the answer to. So touching back on me being fake, when it comes to me buying Dior, if I was to ever buy Dior, I would never buy a knockoff Dior because I feel like I'm just not that fake of a person. Like, I just gotta keep it honest. Like, I does something for my soul, to be honest, to be real. It may be looked down upon, but that's just who I am. So anyway, I had a friend ask me, or who I thought was a friend, ask me, like, hey, I'm ready to move up. I'm ready to move forward. I'm ready to go forward with my management skills at McDonald's. And I'm like, all right, well, you should probably work on these things first before doing it. Like, if you can't handle pressure of a bus coming in and not calling ahead because they never did, how can you move forward as a manager? You know what I'm saying? Like, work on these qualities, work on stress levels, or just managing what to do. And every time she would tell me she's trying to move forward, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe let's work on these two things together, or maybe you can be better by doing this thing. She got mad and would get upset. Well, no, that's not my job. It's not my job to worry about that. So I never understood where you were coming from. It's easy to be motivated to make more money. I can understand that. If you're motivated to make more money, I understand that. But for me personally, there's no way I could never do a job and just suck at it. I understand people may suck at doing certain jobs, but the way of life to me is to try to get better. Like, I would never be 100% okay with sucking at something and not trying to get better. That's how it is for me. If I ever did something and I was completely horrible at doing it, each day I would try to work on getting better, because I feel like that's part of life. Like, it might be an obstacle, but you're able to overcome falling out over that. And I don't really consider it falling out, because I see it as, if I can't have a normal conversation with me being myself without you being offended, and I have to walk on eggshells to give you all the wrong answers that you want me to just say, yeah, sure, go for it. So I just stopped talking to people, and people take it wrong and take it the wrong way. But me talking to you, stop talking to you, isn't because I'm mad at you. Me not talking to you means that that's part of me processing it. Like, I feel like I can't move forward with it, right? This girl, I wouldn't really even call her a friend. I would call her a work colleague. And she always wanted to hang out with me. She always wanted to do different events with me. But I knew, I want to say mentally, but into me listening to my intuition, I knew that I would not be, a good fit for an outside companionship in the workplace with this person, because I knew me being so opinionated, me being so outspoken, it would cause an argument. It would cause me yelling. So I just stopped talking to her. I don't think anything's wrong with that, because like 10 years ago, if you would have caught me, I would have went off on you. The person I am today is, I'm completely different from the person I was 10 years ago. So me not talking to you is okay with me, because and then I thought about it, like, I would never associate with this person. Just because we happen to work at the same place at the same time doesn't mean I have to be your friend. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if that sounds harsh or not, because I knew if I would have met her on the streets and me saying something to her and walking on eggshells, I knew that I don't have anything in common with this person. I wouldn't have hung out with him. I would have just not ever given them my phone number or anything of that nature. So, I don't know. That's pretty much all I got for you guys. Just be wary, be careful. Having a strong personality, being intimidating to the wrong person, they'll try to get you set up. They'll try to get you fired. This lady wound up going around telling everybody, like, Natalie's not talking to me. And it's just like, I don't have to talk to you. If I need that double cheeseburger to move this customer, I'm going to say, Susie, give me that double cheeseburger so I can get drive-through moving. But as far as side conversation, if it's going to be offensive to you, like, what do you want from me? You know what I'm saying? Does that make any sense? But that's all I got for you guys. Be wary of it. Because like I said, some people are going to take it the wrong way. Keep being who you are, but like, you might have a conflict with someone of Susie. You feel me, bruh? Make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you subscribed if you haven't done so already. And until next time, I'll see you next time.